believe I've been refined in the fire. And if you guys listening and thinking, oh my goodness, I have so much darkness in my life, or I had so much darkness in my life that I cannot overcome it, I hope you stumble on this episode, because my life is the testament that you can overcome adversity and you have a choice to thrive after trauma.
Welcome to episode number 43 of the 100 Successful Women, a Conversation to Inspire series. In today's episode, I would like you to meet Lena Cebula, an embodiment of resilience and empowerment. She is a survivor of drug addiction and human trafficking. Lena's journey from hell to heaven is nothing short of inspiring. She's a devoted wife, a mother of 3, a passionate social justice advocate, a captivating public speaker, and the driving force behind the Love and Beloved podcast. Lena is on a mission to spread the message of God's love while raising awareness about the harsh realities of human trafficking. She's committed to empowering women through coaching as she works toward building a world where hope, love, and transformation thrive. I was so moved by her conversation during our sharings with her. Without any further ado, let's dive into our conversation coming up next. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
So excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Lena. Can you tell us whereabouts are you in the world?
I'm in Canada, but I'm actually Russian from Ukraine. And yes, it is complicated, but I'm Canadian.
Well, what is your local time at the moment? Is it really late at night?
It's actually 7:35 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for spending time with us here. I know that it's probably dinner time at where you are.
Well, absolutely. Thank you. I try not to make any appointments for the evening time because we eat in 90% time together. But like I told you earlier, we have Discord and no kitchen. So so dinner was a little bit earlier. So yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And we're going to talk about a little bit more about your story later. I did go through your bio and then I look into your stories as well. I know that you play various roles in your life. Obviously, you are a wife, you are a mom, you are a keynote speaker, and also you do a lot of different charity works as well. So my question that I always ask my guess is that who is really Lena Cebula at your core?
That's a really good question. Going deep right away. Yes, it's very interesting because probably 20 years ago, I would never find the answer for that because, like you hear my story a little bit later on, I did not have no identity. And I didn't know who I was. I didn't know that I had human rights. I didn't really know who Lena is and is she worth living or loving. But today I definitely, all of those roles that you mentioned that really important to me as being a wife and a mother and then speaker, my work, I love who I am. But at the core, I would say I'm a child of God. I'm precious. I'm priceless. I'm amazing. I'm brilliant. I'm beautiful. I'm kind. And I definitely not just taking space here. There's been plan for me and purpose, and I have passion, and I definitely gonna leave this world and I gonna make it impact. And I love being alive, and I'm so grateful for this life that I live in today. And I'm grateful of who I am, which is very interesting because I do believe I've been refined in the fire. And if you guys listening and thinking, oh my goodness, I have so much darkness in my life, or I had so much darkness in my life that I cannot overcome it, I hope you stumble on this episode because my life is the testament that you can overcome adversity and you have a choice to thrive after trauma. but it's a road to healing. So if you see right now, I already said it's been almost 2 decades. So it didn't happen like that. So you just be patient with yourself and just choose constructive means to healing and you'll be there. I promise. Actually, they say never promise anything, but this one thing I know, just day by day, like one foot in front of another, and one day you're gonna feel, oh my goodness, I know who I am. And this has just happened to me like last fall, like last year. I said to my husband, wow, I feel really like myself. I know who I am. I know where I'm stand. I know what I'm doing. I know why this happened. I know that this amazing woman that I am right now, that I'm so proud of, like not just happened. It just happened through all of the life up to this point. So
Wow,
that's
that's
that's who I
amazing.
am now.
You got me there just from the first question that I asked you. I feel so moved by what you just shared and love that we are all the child of God. And then yes, everyone is worthy to be in this planet Earth. Hmm.
Absolutely. That's a big question that you started with.
Yeah, it is a big question for sure, but I really love this question because I hear different version from different guesses, and I really love all the answers. And thank you so much for sharing with us, Lena. And I really feel that your stories is going to inspire many people out there, especially when you did say that you overcame such a big challenges and adversities. So like I said, I read about your bio and your stories, and the challenges and the adversities that you have overcome is really unimaginable for many, I would say. So would you mind to give us some context of your experience, which you probably you're going to share with us about your book Miraculous as well. But in your book, you mentioned about those experiences to you describe as hell. Do you mind to share with us a little bit of the context? Maybe if you are not comfortable going into details, it's okay. But yeah, if you can share with us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Um, I was born and raised in Ukraine, but when I actually was born, it was part of USSR. So that's how I ended up being Russian right in the middle of Ukraine. And when I was 11 years old, Ukraine declared independence. And there, instead of just become free and had the opportunity to make our own decisions, it was so much chaos in the country. And we had inflation, the government wasn't properly set, and everything kind of like it was so much discord. So my parents stopped getting really paid at work, but they still pile up the bills, and they already struggle in their marriage. So this discord and unrest in the country just kind of like put the oil into the fire, and it's everything, it just explode. I remember thinking, actually I have goosebumps because I kind of like it happened so fast. It looked like a normal family. Nothing was even um suggested that something gonna be really bad. When we were young,
Mhm.
of course I seen here and there some kind of signs, but I was like very young, and there's never anything like was so disturbing that would like make me understand that this family already had problems as husband and wife they from beginning, which just was really sad. And now I understand and I have compassion because now I'm a wife and a mother. So looking back, I do understand how hard was for them. But when I was on the receiving end, it was really hard to actually seeing the family just was disintegrated in front of my eyes. And they just start drinking to cope with their problems. They actually left their jobs. Both of them end up quitting and drinking, and my home started having tons of strangers. And then Yeah, we were really like struggling in poverty, trying to survive, and we were really poor. And my home was infested with mold and cockroaches and mice, and I was hungry all the time. I
Mm.
was literally starving. So when those strangers came to my home, I was always around because that was time to, scavenge some food because they brought booze, drugs, and food. So I was kind of hanging around. So from early age, I became an easy target. So they drug and raped me in basement of my apartment numerous times. And my father knew. I even remember the moment one time they were pulling me from my home, and I saw him. He was sitting in the armchair and he was so drunk. And now I understand he has like, he was so broken. I don't think like even he understood the fact, but he look at us and he see this discord and he just said, take her as long as you don't bother me. And it just broke my heart. I think in that moment, I just this hate for him, thinking like, what kind of man are you? Like, are you my father? And everything that I thought of him beforehand, my love and respect to him when I was very, very young, just really disappeared. And it was gone for a very long time, until we reconcile later on. But that's another miraculous story. But at this point, he was just broken and my mother was unfaithful to him, and in the end, yeah, they just separated and they sold everything and went other ways. But the craziest part, they had 3 kids and they left us all. The government actually took away my brother into orphanage because he ended up homeless, and we fought to get him back, and I couldn't have him because I was less than 15. And with the living parents, like all of us were like being all over the place. So I definitely, not only I lost my respect that they didn't protect me and didn't do the parenting roles and jobs, but my heart was just broken by neglect, by betrayal. And then when I thought things couldn't get any worse, 1 month before my 15th birthday, I woke up with severe abdominal pain and scared and confused, only to realize that I was in labor.
Oh.
So in a hospital, they said, I'm gonna have a baby. And when she was born, I was so shocked because I didn't know I was pregnant and I didn't know who her father was. So I knew that drugs and abuse, everything kind of gonna be affecting her life, because by that time was my coping mechanism, and literally being by 14 already being junkie and alcoholic. So when she passed away, it's honestly, it's other, like odd another level, like literally completely different. It's almost like I already submit to the fact that this is my life because I was so broken. But her death added shame and guilt and condemnation for this innocent life, because I already suffer with my own anxieties and panic attacks. But this grief was like so overwhelming. And I was 15-year-old kid, and nobody even came to like here in this wonderful country, they social workers, if something happened, they protect the child, they investigate what's going on. There I had the baby passed away, and nobody even come and say what's going on. This teenager have a child. Like it's so bizarre that nobody even really care. And with the abuse as well, I went to the police. Nobody did anything. They're like, oh, that's where you live. I know about your place. And then the cops were in my house getting drunk too. So like there was no order. There was no protection. There was like it was so much discord. And I'm start looking for like stronger means to cope um with my pain, and I started using heroin. Actually, it was easier to be high because it's make me numb and checked out for almost 12 hours. And this is only drugs that could hold it that long. And I don't really ever thought of killing myself per se, but I never had thinking that the life is precious. I never thought, oh, like, oh, actually, that's what I thought. If I don't wake up tomorrow, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That means like the life is done. And it was very interesting because there were so many situations around me that I would not wake up. But every time when I did, I had like this feeling in my heart that there's purpose for me to wake up every time.
Mm-mm.
And then a few years later, I really hardly remember anything, but I had like almost like this awareness and like almost awakening. It's lots of time pass. I do believe my heart healed as well a little bit because I start hearing this, I don't know, calling inside of my soul, I would say.
Mm-mm.
Um, just saying like made for more. You were made for more.
Mm-mm.
And I was like, okay. And I look around and I was really tired of the lifestyle that I led already, and street junkie just was so tiring. And then I saw people dying around me, people went to jail, people getting murdered for drugs, like, and I started looking for opportunities, but there's no hopes and dreams for people like me. I'm a street junkie. And then I met this guy who is like promised me the world and say like he has um like an opportunity for me. And he introduced me to this rich looking lady, and she's like was wealthy, and she lured me with the promises into her
Mm-mm.
house and offered me all this hot coffee and sweets. And I'm in her home and she's so kind to me. And honestly, it felt so wonderful and safe because for a long time nobody really treated me like a human being.
Mm-mm.
And when she said, like, she just offered me a job, really not really specific, just a
Mm-mm.
job. And honestly, I jumped on it because I thought it was a opportunity to escape drugs and my street life.
Mm-mm.
So her team went to work. I know right now, even like I'm looking into my book and remember, I'm like, there were so many red flags.
Mm-mm.
But now I know and understand this. But that time I was like 17-year-old kid, with so much trauma.
Yeah.
And then anyway, it was so interesting that I was like a sheep, like wherever like they led me, I just go. It's funny if they would like walk me to slaughter, I would probably go to because there's like no other way.
Mm.
So so I just agreed to anything they were asking me to do. So I really vaguely remember I report of how I went through customs. I'll never know because I still was really high.
Mm-mm.
And then I opened my eyes and it was so hot. And I remember it's been December back home. So I'm wearing this like big boots, thick jeans and jacket and plaid short. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And it feels like it's summer. It was so bizarre that my brain didn't even cut up in the fact that there's like no glass in the windows. And I'm like, what is that? And I heard Muslim call to prayer, Allahu Akbar. And I look outside and everything was different. It was like in a dream. There was trees with clementines on it. There was like this warm sun on my face. It took me a while to realize that nice, rich looking lady actually sold me into trafficking into foreign country. So I end up in Cairo, Egypt, and I have two guys accompany us, five girls. There was another girls from my country. And I had really severe withdrawals, from heroin.
Mm-mm.
But there's another, that time I was thinking, oh, this is me, my body just overcome. But I do believe now it just God's grace because people don't quit heroin because body just shut down and you die,
Mm-mm.
especially amount and the stuff that I use. I should not be alive. That's for sure. So I'm not taking that for granted, and I'm not boasting that it was myself did it, because I do believe that my life recovery through the life, it's just miracles. So there was a moment when I was clean from drugs, when they took us in this exotic tourist destination, when I saw this amazing sunset on Red Sea, when they fed us in this restaurant, amazing cuisine, and I felt in my heart, I was so blown away and so grateful to experience something amazing, because I never thought in my life I
Mm-mm.
could see such a beauty. And I was so like mesmerized, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, maybe my life gonna change, maybe something good happening to me.
Mm-mm.
And I was really naive, because next day our hotel was raided by the police because one of the guys was flagged for trafficking. So
Mm-mm.
they took us all in the police station. They took our passports, our fingerprints, and they kept saying, implying that we've been trafficked. They say, "Why are you here?" But because we've been given script, we were saying everything the same thing. And then they didn't have like a Russian translator, so nobody spoke Arabic. So after a while, they kind of give up. They say, okay, they arrest that guy, but let the girls go. But that other guy, they let him go too. So that other guy brought us to the another mysterious destination in the middle of nowhere,
Uh-huh.
and actually left us with a huge, terrifying Middle Eastern man with guns. And then at night, they actually forced us to crawl under the barbed wire, crossing the border illegally into Israel. And that didn't work out because they have no one to receive us because of the earlier police intervention. Everything have to be on the clock.
Mm-mm.
So what interesting, the next day, those guys make us lie down in the bed of the truck, and they throw the tires on top of us and cover us with tarp. And we went through the checkpoint this way. They didn't search the car. So then from there, the guys were waiting for us. They took us and they brought us to the brothel, and they sold us into different places. So what's interesting though, it's very important what place you end up in, because I heard the stories, well, horror, and I don't know if you looking into human trafficking or you know anything about it, you actually do not
Mm.
um escape those kind of situation or coming back alive. So that's why I do believe I have this one of the miraculous story, because I was bought by the family business. So they actually had bodyguards to protect us. So nobody could like rape me or beat me to death. So in my mind, oh my gosh, this is upgrade. I'm not raped, beaten. I have some money, and I'm not on heroin. That was like huge part, but it didn't took me long end up on different drugs, because this is like one way or another, I knew this is not okay. And I try to pretend that I'm not slave. I'm pretend like for myself that I have some kind of freedom, that it is better,
Mm-mm.
because honestly, like no way you're in this kind of situation and you think like, oh, it's all wonderful and that's how it's supposed to be. So I end up on drugs and alcohol again, because it was helping me to kind of like numb on all my thoughts,
Mm-mm.
and just kind of submit. And I think in that way, I do believe I've been enslaved, when you just give up because there's no other way. And even run, where you run? Where?
Mm-mm.
Home?
Yeah,
There was no home.
mm.
So I thought, okay, I'm gonna try to make the best that I could from what I had. And there, another my bodyguard actually, one of my bodyguard, because it was two, and then he actually shared the gospel with me, the good news of God's love. And it was so interesting because I never heard anyone talking about God the way this guy did. He literally was like, I don't know, he was like glowing. And it was so interesting because up to that point, I never met a man like this. In my life, men are violent, they're
Mm-mm.
angry, they disturbing, they screaming, like it's always like discord associating with men. And he was and gentle and strong,
Mm.
and the way he dealt with the girls and with the customers too. He always was like very stable. There never been like his moods or voice, and I was drawn to it.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, what is that about this man that he's like so stable? And I was just so, I don't know, I always say that on the podcast or on TVs or radio, because I hope one day he hear this, because
Mm.
I don't know even if he realized that how he treated me planted that seed in me to seek God, to understand more. And maybe that seed not gonna grow for another 10 years, but
Mm-mm.
still I always think the way he told me these stories and brought me to Jerusalem and actually just plant that desire, and I saw how God answered the prayers, and then I saw the miracles as well,
Well,
so that was really interesting. So I hope and pray one day he gonna hear or read my story and think like, wow,
so
that
you
was
met
one
him
of the
when
girls.
you were in Israel?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. And then after 2 years, when I paid all my dues, which is like, this is another unheard of stuff, because you cannot live this kind of situation alive unless you have been rescued. But in my place, I actually pay all my dues and they allowed me to go back to Ukraine. So I
Well,
had little bit money saved. Well, I thought I actually gonna have buy apartment and start a new life. But there was one person in whole of my life up to that point that I trusted with everything, like with the truth.
mm.
It's my aunt. So my trustworthy aunt stole and spent all my money.
Who is that?
Like she's like one person who I trusted. So I sent her money because she was only one person who I knew she would honor that.
Uh-huh.
But she took all my money and she stole it and spent it. So when I
Someone in
came
Ukraine?
home, yeah. And then there's my other bodyguard who was like a brother to me all these 2 years, cheated me out of all the possession that I accumulate. So I was with nothing again. And
Oh.
I felt like so betrayed. I felt like somebody just stabbed me in like a heart with a knife. I couldn't breathe. Like all this anxiety and fear and that betrayal like just swallow me. So of course, what do? I know my coping mechanism. I went to and found the drug dealer and I was on heroin again. I was like addicted. So I needed money and drugs. So I ended up being the right hand of number one drug dealer in my city, so I would have unlimited amount of drugs influence and money.
Mm-mm.
But it wasn't safe because up to this time my city already been swallowed by drugs. So they start actually from the capital, they start sending like black ops to deal with the drug dealers. So after a couple years and knowing that I already been using dose of 5 people, that
Mm.
I definitely gonna end up in a cemetery or in jail, or somebody will murder me for these drugs, I actually decide to quit by myself. So I quit heroin by myself second time, but there was like nothing for me there, like absolutely, again, no hopes and dreams. And I sold myself second time into human trafficking. because I use my body as a commodity to get something or get somewhere. It's never been really precious to me. So I
Mm-mm.
thought it's like, a stuff that I can use. But this time they brought me to Canada. And in Canada, which was so interesting, what happened is few girls before me like was deported. And the trafficker thought, you know what? They have to stay here. And because I was a sheep, so they thought, broken, a slave. So they think, you know what? She would be a good person to start her documents. And they put my documents and they sent me to school to learn English. And then I meet people who actually start saying stuff like, because I'm going to school to learn English with people who actually newcomers, who actually know that they have rights, who start talking about this process becoming a citizen and all this stuff.
Mm.
And it just light up fire in me. I'm thinking, okay, so that's mean the government know that I'm here because all my documents now in court, I
Mm-mm.
have this story, I have a lawyer, I have this process. That means that government will back me up. And
Mm-mm.
I know that the human trafficking, it's definitely illegal. And I know how well oil machine it works. And I know prostitution is illegal, the
Mm-mm.
drugs, like all that stuff. But back home, it's whatever.
Yes,
But here, apparently,
it's
it's
illegal.
different. Yeah, so illegal and right. So I was like, guys, I don't know, honestly, it's probably bizarre for you, but I was over 20 years old when I find out that I have human rights,
Mm.
that I can say no to be forced to have sex or drugs or whatever. And it just blew my mind. And I wanted to be free. And I felt like it was an opportunity to start a new life from clean slate. But because I was drug addict, alcoholic, that's what they used to. They quickly introduced me to drugs as well. So I end up like here and using and coke and crack and booze and all that stuff. So it wouldn't be that easy, but I wanted so bad that I had one friend and I decided to run away, and I ended up living in shelter for a few months. I got clean. I got my first job, and it was sucks. It was so terrible
Mm-mm.
to work for something like $9 an hour,
Mm.
cleaning like the toilets in the salon that I wanted to be, a hairstylist. I had a dream that I don't know, I have a trade or something. But when you have so much money go from your hand, like through your hands like sand,
Mm-mm.
that was painful. And I felt, I felt, oh man, like I have like this word in my mind in Russian, but like I was belittled as a newcomer. Now I do understand how hard is to be an immigrant, how hard to be a newcomer, how hard it's not to know a lot of the land or language, how hard it's to start from the bottom. No matter where you start, you don't have to go through this course like I did. It's just hard to start over when you older somewhere else, and when you alone, sometimes you have support of family or friends. I was totally by myself, but I wanted so bad that I have to shove that ego and pride somewhere and just go through it. And it's so interesting that one friend that I have, it's like God sent, because that friend taught me how to behave properly. Because
Mm-mm.
you have to understand, I couldn't fit in a society during the day because I was loud, obnoxious, I was angry, I was impulsive because of drugs. So now when I was clean, I have to learn how to speak, how to walk, how to dress. And he actually taught me how to set the table, doing laundry. And it's funny, sometimes people saying to me, is that your father? I'm like, no, I think it's my grandmother, because he always, oh, mama, you have to save your money, you have to pay taxes, you have to. I'm like, man. So yeah, it was very interesting.
Right.
Yeah, relationship. I talk about him in my book too. So I do believe God used him to actually stand by me. This is one human being, like, well, now my husband, my children, but that time it was one human who literally saw past who I become. Almost like he kept saying that time, I can see light in you. So
That was
he
your
was
husband?
respecting that light. No, that was my friend. His
Uh,
name is, but we call him Tom. But it's very interesting because um yeah, he just helped me to see a worth in me.
mm-mm,
And that exterior that was like so broken, obnoxious, he kind of like saw through and just was so patient and kind. And very interesting because he gave me away for my wedding, because he was like the closest to any parent. Like he was like the best, like, of both parents and
mm-mm.
grandparents, like, so if you guys feel like alone, I know there's one person, like, it doesn't have to be a blood
Mm-mm.
relative, but he's the best family I ever had, because he was taking care of me and guiding me. And now my children think that he's our Uncle Tom, and he been part of all of my family
Mm,
celebration, and he's just amazing human being. But he's really first man in my life who would help me for the sake of me being better
mm-mm.
and not asking anything in return.
Wow.
So that's kind of like it's amazing.
Wow.
So then he asked me, what dreams do you have? And I said to him, I want to be a hairstylist. So he helped me find the government credit school. So I passed my test, and from first time, which was amazing, because the lady who is was the receptionist, she said, oh, your English not enough, give up, honey, you don't have to do it. So
Mm,
to all of you who listening and some doubters say you cannot do it, you better do it and know that you cannot do it, rather than listen to someone and not do it and then regret for the rest of your life because you think that you can do it but you never try. So there's the nugget of the
wow.
day, because I thought in like in my heart, I'm like, let me fail, but don't tell me I cannot do it. So literally it was 100 people wrote the test, 30 people was chosen, and I was one of those people. And literally I finished that school like with 96%. And I'm first person who got the license, and I got 200 questions with like 2 hours. And I'm one of the 3 people from that class, became a hairstylist, was a hairstylist for 16 years, had my business for 2 years. So there you go, lady.
Wow.
So yes,
It's,
yes.
it's such a fascinating story that you just
Thank
shared with
you.
Lena. It's,
Thank you.
I was like, I was so fascinated listening to your story, even though it is very heart-wrenching at the beginning when you shared the beginning of your story from where you were as a little child to become a business owner. Even though in between, I would say there are really dark places for you, but that must be God's glory to have those people in your life where that bodyguards and Tom. Oh, I feel so moved by your story. It's just like, so it is so many stages in your life, but I think those stages that make you into someone very strong to tell that ladies what you're saying is bullshit. I'm not going to listen to you, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
that's
you know what? It's so interesting that right now that's what God exactly using,
mm,
because when I was opened my business, because it was my dream, and I'm so grateful that God allowed me to have it for 2 years, to see it and to choose it to close myself, because I realized this business, because it's so hands-on, because I was primary caregiver to my 3 young children.
Mm-mm.
And I assume that they're independent. I don't know how like 4-year-old twins and the 7-year-old can be independent, but I assume when they're in school, I can work. But I realize something have to give, because for 2 years I kind of juggle everything together, and we didn't have a family, and I chose not to hire nannies and house cleaner because I want to do it all,
Mm-mm.
like we women. And then I realized I don't think like I can serve both of these important roles and give it my 100%.
Mm-mm.
But plus, 3 years prior that, I started working on my manuscript, and I heard God saying, this is not the work you should be doing. So when I closed my business, I rebuilt my relationship with my kids, with my home, with myself, and definitely like lots of self-care. And my husband loved it because I was start cooking this Ukrainian meals again. It was like glorious. But I go to God, you know what? I know you didn't make me a housekeeper. There's fire in me that I have to go. I don't know what is it. So
Mm-mm.
in April, I closed the business, and in August of 2019, I published my book. And it was such an amazing experience, because writing this manuscript, I didn't have a deadline. I didn't have a publisher. I literally just went to the past, but with a new perspective. First of all, I was with God. I gave my life to Christ in 2011. So when he called me to look back, I wasn't a baby Christian. I already was solid woman of faith. I was loved and redeemed and saved. I know where I stand. And when he took me look back, I actually like was looking with the new eyes, and I had so much compassion on that little Lena, because I saw she's the product of her environment,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw she did everything to survive. There was not because um some other stuff. And I saw my parents through different eyes, while I already had what, almost 10 years being a mom, or wife, a housekeeper. And I was thinking, like, what kind of mother I would be if I would have no God, if my husband wouldn't love me, if I have to come back to work with 3 kids. And twice after my both pregnancies, I had postpartum. They
Mm-mm.
didn't diagnose me, but kind of like I'm happy that they didn't right now, 10 years later, because I have really high addictive personality. So I would probably struggle with that too. So
Mm-mm.
I'm kind of now, when I'm over it, I'm glad that I recover on a clean, but it was hard road, to get all these hormones imbalance in check. And it was like, it was a struggle. But then I'm thinking, so is my mother. But plus, she didn't have diapers, she didn't have formula, she didn't have hot water. Can you imagine? That's terrible. So
Mm-mm.
now, knowing how hard is to be a mother with all these conveniences by the grace of God that my husband provide,
Mm-mm.
but he had to work hard for me to stay home with the kids. And that already like had toll too. But because we both of us was working towards this goal and supporting the kids and the family and home, and I could drive anytime and get food. My fridge, when you open, was
Mm-mm.
small, but it was stuffed with food, that I know that my family is taken care of. That's a huge burden, but for her not to know like where to like and how to feed the kids, that's like huge emotional burden. Oh my goodness. So I literally, my heart broke for them. For the first time, I actually, instead of hating them, thinking like, whoa, they had a hard life. So
Yeah.
how can they give it to me something that they don't have themselves? And I know by myself, like, I don't know how you guys, but when I don't sleep well, don't eat well, when I'm stressed out, I'm not nice.
Yeah.
I'm not nice person, but I can have a rest. Can see it because it's not my lifestyle. But
Mm.
that's where they were. They were in this pit of despair. So my heart broke for them, and I actually was praying. God said to me, this is the time when you forgive them. And
Mm,
first I got kind of like, okay, I understand them, but I don't want to forgive them. They did this, and that. I say, why do I have to forgive them? Because this hate, this anger almost like fuel some like this, it's negative, but it's almost like been so much part of me. And
mm,
I thought this is my strength because that was like kind of hold me not to fall apart.
mm,
But then he said, well, I forgive you for, so you just do it. And then I had this moment with God when I was praying. He said, um, they got married and they had you and they loved you. And it was so interesting that I never thought about the fact how they met, because I always thought that they met and they went against the parents. That's at another level, discord in their family. But what interesting is I actually called my father and I said to him, you know what, I forgive you, I do understand what's going on. And he was crying and he's like, how can you forgive me, and it's terrible. And I told him about God and I told him about my family. It's actually very interesting because I didn't spoke to him like for a very long time, but then we just miraculously connected, and then he passed away in like 6 7 months.
oh,
But what was interesting though, because we totally reconcile, it was so beautiful. And when we come back to Ukraine with my children and my husband, my aunt brought me this album and she was showing me pictures that I never saw it before. I don't know how I never knew the story that my mother and my father fell crazy in love. So I was a love child. They want me so bad that they have to go against their parents to actually have me, and they got married. And I was like, what? They love each other and they love me. It's such a interesting interesting outcome. So yeah, with my mother, I still have a more hard time because I don't know. I think like I don't think like I have hate. Like I forgive them. I'm really okay, but I still have pain, and
mm,
not because of the past. I have a pain of now because she never been kind of interesting like in my life or in my children or anything like that. But lately, she reaching out, so she started posting stuff like I love you. And
mm.
before I would be like, okay, I'm like 43 years old now, you tell me like you love me. But then I thought, you know what, I don't know, she never gonna apologize. I know she never um even tried to reconcile with me per se. But then I was thinking, man, probably she have like so much trauma, that she don't even think that that I need this. And I don't think like it's so funny because I felt like God saying to me, if she would on her knees begging your forgiveness and saying, oh, you know what, I understand, would that change anything? I think no,
Mm,
nothing you can change because the past is the past.
yes.
Nothing you can do. So he kind of saying like just go and love her now. So I'm still working on this relationship, but I'm open and I'm talking to her. And when she say I love you, I say thank you. And it's kind of like it's already moving forward. So
Yeah.
there you go. If you have a hard relationship in your life, you definitely need to look into it and just, you know what, don't force yourself. I think we need to give ourselves grace and just move forward. With what I tell you though, when I forgive them, I thought I'm doing it for them. But then when this anger, when this burden, when this like darkness just left me,
Mm-mm.
I thought I'm gonna float. I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought was my strength. And now like it was like an anchor on
Mm.
like my leg. And now I was like so light and excited and joy came like literally in those spots of my soul that was the anger of that betrayal and resentment. And when that gone, God just like fill it up with all the goodness. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love being a mom. I love on my kids. I
Mm.
love hugging them and kissing them and like smooching them. Well, now they're like teens and preteens, so they like, mother, you don't smooch me here. But then it's
Oh,
funny, they go like at home, they're like, okay, you do it here at home, but then not do it outside. I'm like,
oh,
okay. But
yeah.
it's so sweet, and then I realized she taught me how not to be. I do believe I am a great parent because I'm doing exactly opposite of her. But then some of the strength that she had, I have too, because I'm inherited her strength, and I'm like, whoa. And some of the stuff I love about me, it's from her too. I'm
Mm.
like, wow, that's so interesting. And I see my strength in my daughter too, like, it's just amazing. I think forgiveness, it's such amazing stuff, and I do believe forgiveness is for us, not for
Yeah,
them.
definitely. Forgiveness is definitely something that for yourself. And then there is a saying that if you're not forgiving someone, you are literally drinking the poison on your own, right?
Good one. And expecting the other person to die.
That's right. Yeah,
That's
definitely. And
that part.
yeah,
Yes.
I think that it is definitely, and one line that I always say as well, the life is happening for you to become the advocates of what you're doing now, and also to become a better mother for your children, right? And definitely that's so many that you learn along the way. Mm.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's such an amazing stories that you just shared. That I have so many touching moments listening to you, and it's like, so with the books that you mentioned. Obviously, you say you wrote the book back in 2019, and with all the stories that you just shared, will you say that was God's who transformed you?
Yes, absolutely. Before I was thinking, oh, this is me doing, I quit drugs, I survived, I did this and I did that. And at some point, yes, and I do believe God does partner up with us because He doesn't make you do stuff, you still have to look for the opportunities. Like I heard the calling that I meant for more, and instead of like just sit in the darkness, I was looking what more means, where I can go. And although it was like from like frying pan to the fire, but it still kind of moved forward. And God definitely used all the situation and bring the people and open the doors. But I do believe I quit drugs by myself. I did lots of stuff by myself, but the transformation did come with Christ, because although I quit everything, I was dressed well, I had a profession, and the time I have boyfriend, which is my husband now, because I thought, uh, if I can play a role, as a perfect or normal human being, whatever, I'm doing quotation marks if you don't see me, because normal, it's so different for me right now. But that time I thought, if I gonna have perfectly crafted story and persona are gonna make me into this person, and they're gonna see me, perceive me like that, then I gonna have then I will have the clean relationship, clean house. I was a mom already that time, and I just finished the hair school. I got my license. I was a hairstylist, and then I went to taekwondo. I started getting into competitions. I got medals and trophies and all these diplomas and titles. I'm thinking, okay, that's the transformation as happening. But it didn't, because inside I was still that Lena, really like disturbed, like with nightmares, anxieties, traumas, because that was never addressed. Because back home, we don't even like nobody talking about trauma therapist,
Mm-mm.
counseling, coaching, or anything like that. I just assume that if I can outperform like and earn the worth and value. So it didn't happen. And I'm really glad that God allowed me to achieve all my dreams per se without him, and see that although I could do lots of stuff by myself, I could not get peace.
Mm-mm.
I could have no hope. I didn't feel that I belong. I always felt that I'm so different and broken, and and I had no worth of value. So when I met God and I pray prayer of salvation, that was that internal transformation. That time I knew if everything will disappear, that I am, without all this fluff of the titles and trophies and roles, I am significant and my life is valuable. And I start sleeping through the night, and I start talking against my negative thoughts. I start fighting against those anxieties. And
Mm.
then little by little, he brought people into my life who taught me, oh, you know what? You need to deal with trauma because it's still going to be lingering here. Although your life, it looks so much better because of the circumstances change, but my body, my mind is still remember. So
Mm.
it's will come in through triggers, and I have to learn those triggers and I have to deal with that. But it was so much easier when I had no anxiety. I literally had no anxiety, which is so bizarre because anxiety haunted me since I probably was like 9 year old, and I was clean too. You have to understand, when I met my husband, I vowed to myself that I never lie, which is I was pathological liar. It just was means for me to survive. So all those stories, I will never lie to him. Although it's funny, my carefully crafted story, I called that, and God called me on it 10 years later and say, well, this is a lie. And I never thought it's a lie because I saw, like, it was my comfort like blanket until that book come out, which has really changed my life. I thought that book was for someone else, but it's given me freedom because I could throw out that blanket and be who I am and stand in this truth and know that this is not the story of shame, guilt, and condemnation. It's God's story of salvation, of overcoming adversity. So that actually gave me a power to say the truth and feel good about it, and which is like
Mm.
really cool.
So
Yeah,
what
that
is
was
that?
really good.
So Lena, what is that pivotal moments that you decided? Because obviously there is a decision at that point that you decided that I want to be listening to God and to get help, not being anxious. What is that like? There must be some pivotal moment that you make that decision.
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, when I met my husband, he's actually a pastor kid. So
Oh,
I end up in the church with his family just because, I want to impress him, his family, and all that stuff. But then when I start listening messages, about salvation, about love, about grace, those words actually never crossed paths with my life. Those
mm-mm.
like loyalty, belonging, being inheriting with Christ, being daughter of the King. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it was like drawing me to God. And I think like when I went to Alpha course, and actually, guys, like if you want to like curious, I'm not to here to convert anyone, just in case if thinking like, oh my gosh, this crazy Christian lady tried to like make me Christian. No, I'm sharing my story, but just in case, if you're thinking, oh my goodness, if this happened to her and I'm on the end of my rope and I try everything, I want to try to give God a chance, please check out Alpha course. Alpha course, it's it helped me because it's actually it's going into questions like of faith,
Mm-mm.
but with very, very easy atmosphere, nobody gonna try to convert you. It's just like educational, you get more facts, and you can, like, it's food for thought, and then, like, you can make a decision where you stand. But honestly, I think up to that point that I got to that course already, I had like heart were like longing, I was seeking, I was so ready. So when I went to that course on the third day, I knew like God calling me. And that was the moment. And literally, honestly, guys, I felt like how you have puzzle. I don't know if you like puzzles, but I'm not too crazy about the puzzles, but I really like this analogy because what drive me crazy about the puzzle when you put everything together and there one piece is missing and
Yes.
that hole in that piece,
Uh,
and just like honestly, like I think that's why I don't like puzzles, because if they incomplete, I'm like, I have an anxiety, it's like never done. But I think that's what happened to me. I felt like I got wherever I could myself, but it's never been complete. There always was some void inside my soul, on my mind. There was something always missing, and I couldn't figure out what is this.
mm-mm.
And when I give my life to Christ, I did it like 100% consciously because I wanted so bad this hope, this love, this forgiveness for myself, for my being. And then when it happens, like right after this prayer, I just literally, I felt that piece, like that perfect puzzle piece, whatever it was such a perfect fit,
Mm-mm.
and I just felt complete. I cannot explain it to you guys. I never, like, the drugs never make me feel this way. Okay. Like, because I was chasing that high all my life. But I literally, I'm getting this high right now because I'm getting so excited. And I never could get it from drugs, this acceleration of the goodness and being healthy. And like, and by no means, guys, like I have still troubles. Like life didn't just miraculously become this wonderful blanket of, or the cloud or whatever it is. No, I still struggle,
Yeah.
but I know I have faith and I have hope, and I know that everything will work out for good for me. And I just, sometimes I'm taking day by day, sometimes like I can be stronger and take bigger strive, but I do believe that's what give me a purpose and a path, because it's literally all this stuff that I accumulate over my life. Now God taken to this book, to my coaching right now as well, to support women, to my speaking. So he literally, yes, he transformed me. He creates beauty from ashes, and that's what he did with my life. I
Mm,
definitely would not be who I am without him. I would be successful. Don't make mistakes, like, because even without him I already was going up, but I had no peace, I had no joy, I didn't even feel loved. I would not be completed myself, so what
mm,
he made me complete. And sometimes people say like, oh, but your husband, sometimes they say two halves find and become a marriage. No, I believe two full people become a marriage
mm-mm.
and create a marriage, because I know that I'm fully set human being, stable, as much as I can, and then we create partnership. So
Mm,
first me with God, and then me with my husband, and then me, my husband with our children. So
yeah.
I do believe that's how our household run. And I do believe he gave me this power and the strength to move where he want me to be, because honestly, I did build my empire without him, not for any money. I don't want it. I don't want
Mm,
the glory. I don't want the money. I don't want my empire. I want his kingdom. I want his joy. I want his peace. I want his grace. I want his mercy. I want his love. And I want to build for, like, I want to be filled to the rim and then give it to others.
Oh,
That's what I
so
want to see.
beautiful. I
I
know.
hope you feel it. I give it to you too. You're so sweet and kind and see your emotions. And I'm like, I'm so grateful that my story actually make somebody's heart move. And I hope you guys hearing that too. So whoever see it, hear it, or I don't know, find this episode, I give you all the blessing. They're blessing to you guys,
Wow,
blessing for your
that's
health, for
so
your
beautiful.
life, for everything.
Wow,
Yes,
that's
absolutely. I'm
such a
so grateful for this
oh,
opportunity.
that's such a lovely and beautiful sharing from you, Lena, to be really honest. But then I'm well aware of the time. It was like
I
your
know, I'm
story is,
sorry.
let's say,
See, that's why God called me to speak. That's why you have to say, Lena, have a good day.
I was like
Thank
so
you.
sucked in with your stories,
Yeah,
and then it's
thank
like
you.
I just so amazed with just you
I
share.
know.
Um, I know that your stories, there are a lot more that we can get out from you, because there are a lot more that we
Oh,
can
yeah.
hear from you. You got so many wisdom, and I know that
Thank you.
God have you on a mission because you are
Thank you.
meant to be, and then your stories or your challenges or the things that you've been through, it's meant for you to be there to share to more people out there. But then I know that we only have like 1 hours, and you have been sharing with us. That's a lot. I know that we got to get you in again next time to share with us more.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate your time with us today, Lena. You share with us your story, and then how you become from who you were to who you are, and definitely can hear I really appreciate you sharing your story, which is like we can totally see that the the hell that you've been through, and today sharing your haven, because that
Thank
was,
you.
I can feel your excitement, I can feel your fire in you, because you wanted those words to be out there, to reach out to more people, to overcome adversity like you are as well. I really appreciate your time. That's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me talking that long, and honestly, I'm so excited, and I'm so grateful for this life and for this opportunity. And I hope somebody hear my story and they would say, because that would help me to listen some women who from the stage or from the social media and thinking if they can do it, I can do it. So I hope you hear this story and thinking like if she can do it, I can do it. That's hope. And you know what? There's nothing like you can do that you cannot be forgiven. So you are worthy, you are valuable, you are significant. Just don't give up.
I love that message. So where can people find you online, Lena?
Yes, absolutely. Well, you can Google my name, Lena Cebula, because now I'm all over social media, and most of my links with Lena Cebula, um, I'm yes, I'm not on TikTok. This is one thing that I'm kind of still contemplating, but definitely Facebook and LinkedIn, Lena Cebula. And if you would like to check out my website, actually it's brand new. So I put so many different resources, the resources and for church and for Alpha, by the way, if you want to look into it. There's my podcast as well, Love and Beloved, and some news and some, I have a page with resources for human trafficking as well. So honestly, it's free. You guys, whatever you need, just take it. I love to collaborate with amazing organizations and individuals who really changing the world, and all the information there are free. So whatever you need, just go and get it from there. And it's lenacebula.ca. So
Mm.
one word. And yes, absolutely. Check out all the news there. New book collaboration coming in December as well. So most of the stuff on my website. Yes. And if you want to know more about me, oh, you actually can buy the book on Amazon.ca or Amazon.com, and from the website as well. But if you want to shoot me email, it's lenacebula@gmail.com. So lenacebula@gmail.com. There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to include the link in the video as well, so that people can reach out to you via your website, via your social media. I got a lot more questions to ask you actually, Lena. But then it's like, yeah, I definitely would like to invite you again in
yeah, this is gonna be second one, but
yes.
but it's good that you guys heard my story, because I think it's very important to see the past, because sometimes we see a success story and then without looking back and see like where did people come from, it's very hard to like compare yourself, thinking like, oh, this is really unattainable, and then you see like, whoa, she's like drug addict, alcoholic, a prostitute, and now she got here. Wow, okay, you know what, it's possible, it's possible. If she can do it, I can do it, you know. I always like was saying people were driving, women driving, I'm like, oh, they can do it, I can do it. You know, oh, they speak English, they can do it, I can do it. You know, all this stuff that somebody can do it better than you can do it. Just have to believe, and you have to say, she can do it, I can do it. So there you go.
Wow, love that. That's the purpose of this podcast, is to show women out there it's possible. No matter there are few guesses that is having their, everyone have their stories, and then some of them in the darkest place, and you are one of them, and seeing you blossoming and having that beautiful smile and loving all your energy.
Yeah,
if you
I wish like my hair was like little bit more curly, but I was busy today all day, but thanks God it's nicely colored and clean, so that's a bonus. But
yeah, I think it's like love that. It's like, I'm so grateful that you share your story so openly, and I believe it's going to inspire a lot of people out there. So what, before we wrap up today's conversation, Lena, one message that you can give to other, I know that you give us a lot of golden nuggets already. What is your one last message to all the women out there?
Oof, just give me one moment, because I gonna read you guys. I should know this by heart because it's one of my favorite quotes, but I will read it, so I'm sorry. So here you go. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? We were born to make manifest of glory of God that is within us. And as we let our own light shine, we give other people permission to do the same. And my light shine bright these days. Now it's time for you to shine yours upon the world too.
That's beautiful, and I love that. And you are definitely giving us the shine that you are, and you are like growing and you're shining to many people, and I am one of them. I really appreciate our conversation today. And when you say shining, the songs that come out on my mind is the songs that my little girl always like to play. Shine bright like a diamond. That's the song that she always like to play, and that song come into my mind. And our conversation today, I think it's not, it's meant to be, because I believe that everyone that we cross path with, it is meant to be.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Everything happens for a reason.
I feel so, I feel so blessed to have this conversation with you, Lena, and thank you so much for your time. And yeah, anything that you would like me to ask before we finish today's conversation?
Are you sure you're asking me that? No, I'm just kidding. No, I think yes, I think I think I would answer any questions that you have, but if you would like to have me some other time that we just go through the question, I would love to. And honestly, guys, if you have any question for me, like you send Vivienne and I can answer those questions if you have. but I feel really complete. Thank you so much. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for this time, and I appreciate you and your kind words. And I'm so grateful for your platform, for all the listeners. And yes, I love empower women, and I love to share in hope, because I want you to guys know there's and hope and peace and love and joy and wholeness again after trauma, so we can thrive.
Yes, I really think that, and especially with the world nowadays, spreading one hope, one love, it will change a lot of things. Thank you so much for your time, Lena. I really enjoy our conversation today, and yeah, looking forward to have you on again next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye for now.